Hi crafty friends, this is Amanda. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend it with me for my second video. I'm trying very hard not to get distracted by the screen. I love this part, that's why I slowed it down for you. It's so soothing and relaxing when those inks and water mix together. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to not to have a script on this video, just talk to you like you're in my craft room. I'm going to sound a little crazy and nuts and wonky, and I'm going to say some weird stuff, but I need to get better at this. Sorry that you're my guinea pigs. You can always mute it if it's too terrible. I'll understand. I'd love to hear your comments about maybe how I can improve. If you guys are a public speaker, maybe you guys can give me some ideas about how I can improve my speaking. It's totally completely out of my wheelhouse, and I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone. My control freak is going nuts right now. I'm adding frost white paint to my wells of my water media mat. This is a white silicone mat that has wells. It's wonderful for watercoloring. The paint doesn't really act that well with water, but it brings so much shimmer when you add the re-inkers and the watercolor to it. I think you're gonna want to pick some up. I love using it. I have two panels of watercolor paper here. One's cut at 9 by 4, and the other is just a panel. I think it's a 5 by 6, so that I can make some butterflies. I chose to do one on top of each other like this so that I can get the colors the same when I cut out my butterflies. Cut your panels larger than you want to so you can tape them down, and if you want to cut off the wonky edges, you'll have some room to do that. So cut larger than what you need. Right now I'm using a wet on wet technique, is when I put clean water down on the area where I want my ink to flow through. I'll be using a wet on dry technique as well. It doesn't really matter for this rainbow, but when you use a wet on wet technique, the water flows and blends better. Right now I'm adding some re-inker, not to my paper but to the tape. If you add the re-inker to the paper itself, you'll have this weird wonky mark there that never will go away. You can always cut it off, but if it's in your middle of your panel, you're going to be stuck with it. So add your re-inker to the tape and not the paper. For my red, I'm actually using Melon Mambo. The red did not water down to a nice pink, and I really like the idea of being able to do pastels if I chose to, so I chose the Melon Mambo for my red, and I love it with this particular combo of the rainbow that I'm choosing. I want you to know that it's very difficult not to paint the drips. You just have to ask them nicely to drip organically. They look so much better when you do that. Here I'm going to add tons of water, slam it down on my mat, add more re-inker, do everything that I can to get the second drip here because it looks so nice. If you try to paint your drips, it's going to look silly. I know you're like, oh, I'd never do that, but believe me, you're going to want to do that if you choose to make this card. I've been playing for about 24 hours these last 3 days. The re-inkers are so nice to watercolor with. They're super inexpensive. They're $3.75. And over those 3 days, I have used less than 1/8 of a container. So I have plenty of re-inker left. I bet it's not even 1/8. I bet it's a 1/16, but it's so nice. If you pick up some lava soap, you're going to be able to get those re-inker colors off your hands. I was nice enough, Rita was nice enough to share with me about lava soap, so I'm sharing it with you. Use your lava soap about every 30 minutes and it'll get your hands clean. You'll notice here that even though I've been spending days and days, my hands are actually clean, which is so nice. If you choose to use orange on your rainbow, which I suggest you do, I hate it when people skip orange and they just go to yellow. Use pumpkin pie or mango melody. Those ones look really nice together. Notice that I didn't touch the pink to my orange at the top because I wanted a true rainbow at the bottom. I let them spread together so that I have a nice coral color for my butterflies. Bring an entire roll of paper towels. You're gonna need them. Look how much paper towel I'm using now to clean up all the drips. Also, you might want to have a larger trash can than I did because mine's overflowing right now. I tried using the glass media mat or the glass mat first, and I was so annoyed because I got ink all over me, all over my brand new t-shirt that I had on. It was so funny. As soon as I changed it to this white matte with the wells, I didn't get any more ink on me, but I had already changed clothes. So if you're going to use something slippery like the glass matte, wear some grubby clothes that you can. For the yellow here, I'm using crushed curry, but if you want to use, and then I added some Daffodil Light, sorry, the crushed curry runs towards orange. The Daffodil Light is too light to use by itself unless you want to do pastels. So know that if you want to use pastels, just use the Daffodil Light. If you'd like to go full throttle with your colors, you can see I'm painting up here to keep as much pigment up at the top. But if you want to do full throttle, you'll want to use crushed curry and Daffodil Delight. I want to tell you about this white X-Acto matte that I'm using. I'm bending it and making it move all over. It was my very good friend Anna's. She was the sweetest, most loveliest person in the entire world, and she passed away several months ago, and her husband was nice enough to give me something from her craft room. I was going to put it away, and I thought, I don't want to put it away, I want to use it so I can remember my good friend Anna every time that I take it out in watercolor. If you have something like that was given to you so you can remember someone by, don't put it in a corner, don't put it away. Keep it out, use it if you can, remember that person by it. For green, the shaded spruce was too emeraldy and old olive was way too brown. The garden green was okay, but Granny Apple's green was great and wonderful and vibrant, worked so well with the other colors. If you don't use my color choices, you want to swatch the other colors before you use them. You're going to be surprised at the grays and the brown undertones. I suggest you don't use a heat gun. You're going to be so unhappy with how dull the colors get, but if you let your panel air dry, they're going to be so bright, vibrant, and beautiful. I used Pacific Point for the blue. I did try Bermuda Bay. Coastal Cabana was way too light. So if you want to do a coral, not a coral. If you want to do a aqua, use Bermuda Bay. Of course, you can always water it down if you want to go pastel, but I wanted the true blue this time. I have a little dot here in the middle between my green and my blue. I think you can see it. And if you don't like it there, add a little bit of water, make it well up, and leave it for several minutes, and then take a clean paper towel and blot it up. But you have to wait several minutes, guys. Don't just do it for a second. You're going to get irritated because it won't come up. For the purple, I used Gorgeous Grape. Highland Heather was way too gray, so I used Gorgeous Grape. It was so beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous with the rainbow like that? I'm using the dual butterfly punch to punch out my butterflies. And I'm going to be punching out double the smaller butterflies than the larger ones. I'm sure you'll figure out how to do that. I just snipped the bottoms and I snipped the bottom where the butterflies were when I was done with that area, and then just punched out the butterflies strategically so I could have a little bit of this color, a little bit of that color. When you remove your panel from your background that you taped on, use some paper towel to really wipe that tape off so there's no extra watercolor there to ruin your panel. I did that before. That wasn't really fun. These alpha dies are actually retired Stampin' Up alpha dies. I'm sorry about that, guys, but Stampin' Up no longer has smaller alpha dies, but I'm sure we can find some together. If you want to contact me, I'll help you find some alpha dies. I know that there are several places sell them, and if you want to talk to me about my water media mat, I'll let you know about that as well. So just contact me via email and we'll get that together. I'm using the grids on the mat to line up my letters, then used post-it tape to connect those letters and then run them through the die cutting machine. Don't forget to keep your little inside of your A and the inside of the K. That'll make it all seamless when you put them together. I'm going to be cutting black letters as well to put underneath the colored letters. I don't even remember what this technique is called. I'm sure you know it's right on the top of my tongue, but I can't remember what it's called right now. But the black letters make it have this really great outline, and it really makes the letters stand out, and I really like that. So I chose black instead of white to make my letters. And I'm using Dot Runner to try and line up my letters, but it just didn't work. It didn't give me enough wiggle room. So I had to go back to my Tombow Mono. I really don't like using my Tombow Mono for little letters because it makes my hand so sticky. So I just had to keep a wet towel near so I could destictify my fingers. I'm also using Stampin' Seal Plus on my panel because I need a strong adhesive, because this is watercolor and it got wet, so it's all wonky. Then I'm putting Tombow Mono glue on it so I can have a little bit of wiggle room to place it on my black mat, because, you know, on the black mat it's going to really pop out. But then I do it in between the letters so that everything's stuck down really well. I'm going to be adding some Wink Estella on my butterflies. I know I don't do it on video, but I'm going to be adding them so they're shimmery. And if you don't have frost white, that's a good way of adding shimmer to your cards. I would suggest that you do not take frost white, water it down with water, and then add it to your panels. Frost white does not do well, like I said, and it looks terrible. Ask me how I know. I definitely forgot. I'm like, oh, I'll just add some afterwards. No big deal. But it was terrible. So do yourself a favor and do not add frost white ink after. Use it with watercolor when it's wet, or use Wink Estella. I'd really love to hear your comments. I feed off your well wishes and even your, hey, you should think about doing this. So if you have some ideas of some cards or want to know how to do something, or if you can remind me of the technique that I'm using here, because I really can't remember what it's saying. I know it's not a blackout, but an eclipse. Oh my goodness, thank heavens. All right, I remembered it. But if you have some questions, or if you could leave a comment for me, I'd really appreciate it. That just makes my day go a little bit faster. I'm disabled, so staying at home is normally what I do, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to also subscribe. That really helps me out as well. I'm adding my butterflies here strategically. I want the same color family where the butterflies are at, so they kind of seamlessly fit in with the background, kind of like almost that they take on the background color. I did it differently in one of my cards. I'll show you at the end. It looks terrible, at least I think I do. So yeah, if you want to add your butterflies, I suggest you add them green on green, or, you know, something like that, so that it looks like they're popping out from the background rather than just randomly. I'll show you why in a minute. If you need a demonstrator, I'd love to be yours. I have some ideas, and I'd love to share some product suggestions with you. So if you want to email me, I'll put my email address up here. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to chit chat with you. If you already have a demonstrator, please stick with your demonstrator if you're happy with them. I'd hate to take someone else's customer, but if you don't have a demonstrator, I'd love to be yours. I'd love to talk to you about my rewards program. I'm going to add some rhinestones here for some sparkle. You can't have enough sparkle as far as I am concerned. I wanted to remind you that I do have 2 containers of water. One that I just left for clean water, and one that you saw on the right that was just dirty water. So I tried to keep them separate. Clean water, you're going to need that for this technique, definitely, and the dirty water. I really love these cards. I love these techniques. I hope you do as well. Let me know what you think of them in the bottom. Look how dark and gorgeous that purple is. It's just so wonderful. For my sentiments, I use Gorgeous Poppies, Positive Thoughts, and Life is Beautiful. I do really appreciate your time. Thank you so very much for spending some time with me. I love that you stopped by. This card right here, my daughter thought that it needed to be a little bit more blended together. Let me know what you think in the bottom. Here's some other ideas, the stripes and the different things that you can do with that. I did want to talk to you about the splatters really quickly. Large brushes equals large splatters, and small brushes equals small splatters. You don't want to add too many. Look here at this card. You see the butterflies are kind of in the wrong order. The purple and the blues at the top. I just think it looks terrible. What do you think? I like the sentiment though. Here's this card. I put too many splatters on, and then I tried to wipe them up, and that didn't work. So I completely ruined my panel. I wanted to let you guys know that accidents do happen and you have to start over, but that's the fun of it. Thanks again so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. You are so wonderful. Leave me a comment below. Tell me how your day is going. Today is grubby and nasty, but I'd love to hear about how you're doing and where you're at and where you're watching from. Thanks again so much. You guys are absolutely the best.